It is right. It is right. It should be so. Man was made for joy and woe. And when this we rightly know, through the world we safely go. Joy and woe are woven fine, a clothing for the soul divine. Under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. From Auguries of Innocence by William Blake. Auguries, there we go. Okay, so I didn't ask anybody who would like to light the chalice, who hasn't lit it that would like to, or who has even, and would like to light the chalice today. Okay, all right, come on up, Jan, over here in the corner. Those of you at home are invited to light your own chalice. William Blake reminds us that under every grief and pine runs a joy with silken twine. In a way, our faith community here is that silken twine, weaving each of our individual threads into a cloth that might keep us warm enough to find our way. So we light the chalice this morning to symbolize that warmth and the guidance that can come from that sacred cloth. Before we sing the first hymn, thank you, Mary, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the opening hymn, Circle Game by Joni Mitchell.
Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round on the circle game. Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease him, and promises of someday make his dreams. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. 16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town. And they tell him, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet too slow, the circle's down. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. So the years spin by and now the boy is 20. Though his dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came and go round and round and round in the circle game. And go round and round and round in the circle game.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We're glad you've joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy the sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds, as well as community leaders, to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU7 principles. And soon it might be the UU6 values. We'll see. Today's service centers around the third principle. We affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encourage spiritual growth in our congregations. My name is Dolores Miera, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you've joined us this morning, and if you wish, please raise your hand if you would like and introduce yourself or your guest. Have any visitors? No. Okay. Bill, have you ever introduced yourself? No? You can say, hi, I'm Bill White. Okay. Okay. If you're not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening, the e-blast sent to you every week. Raise your hand if you read that letter, everyone. Great, I am so glad you, thank you. This is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. So good morning, welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUCC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. I see many of you close your eyes to say, I know this by heart. That is really great. So we set aside this time for brief announcements that will be of interest to our community and friends. Please be succinct when announcing upcoming events or updates. If you have an announcement, please raise your hand. When Randy or I call on you, come up to the podium, unmute yourself, or come up to the podium or unmute yourself, then speak. Okay, Mary.
Okay, so this is a very important week for us. GA begins this week. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The sessions are about 3.5 hours long. I'm not going to tell you every wonderful thing that's happening. There's lots of music and worship services and all kinds of inspiring things. I'm not going to tell you about them. I want to mention the things that Andy and I will be voting on, representing you as your delegates. So this year it's totally via Zoom. We'll be broadcasting every day. So please come join us and give us your feedback, because at the end of each day, we'll be having to vote. On the first day, on Friday, there'll be discussion on the Article 2 amendment, adding pieces of value. So the picture might change. The discussion of an additional amendment to add reason as a value will also be discussed. And then the last item will be a final discussion of the Unitarian Universalist Association business resolution, which this year is affirming transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender diverse people as a fundamental expression of UU religious values. And if that's approved, it will be the first business resolution adopted by the UUA in support of transgender equity. So, and after that day, Andy and I will be voting on those issues on that day. On Saturday, we'll hear the updates from the previous day's ballot. There'll be final discussion on, I skipped Thursday, so I'll have to go back for Thursday, but on final discussion of Article 2 as amended. And then we'll discuss the actions of immediate witness. And an immediate witness, which is sometimes referred to as AIW, is a statement about a significant action, event, or development in the world that needs immediate engagement or action from UU member congregations and groups. So this is something that the overall association would like us to become educated about and do something about, whatever it is we can do during the year. And sometimes these things don't happen. Last year, the voted on amendment was Stop Cop City. We never talked about it. We didn't educate each other about what it was. We didn't write letters. We didn't do anything. So I'm hoping that we pick one this year that we can do something with. This year's proposed AIWs are first, centering love amidst ongoing impact of COVID-19. The second is solidarity with Palestinians. The third is world on fire, humanitarian aid, and climate change. These will get voted on by your delegates, and there will be discussion on each of them during the televised broadcast. So we'd appreciate your input. We may not, they take a 2/3 vote of the entire delegation to pass. So these aren't easy things to pass. I go back to Thursday really quickly, which I didn't copy. So on Sunday, we'll get the final ballot, and there'll be closing festivities. There'll be some wonderful things going on. Andy's going to post when the Where lecture, which is really widely attended by everything happens. That'll be in the newsletter, so look for that. I just wanted you to know about the things we're voting on.
What time, if someone wanted to come, what time on Thursday would they show up here?
On Thursday, you know what it is? I do have it here. So the Thursday begins here at 10 a.m. our time. Friday begins 11:30 our time, and Saturday 12 p.m. our time.
Okay, so 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, 10 o'clock here on Thursday.
Great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, who's next?
She's a tough act to follow. Good morning. During your spare time, like when you're drifting off to sleep or you're in the middle of a meditation, take a little moment to visualize a service that you could provide for our auction to be sold and then actuated. So we're going to, as a fundraiser for this year, September 21st, 28th. Is it 21st? Oh. I think I might have the wrong date. It's going to be towards the end of September. One of those two dates. Anyway. Yes. Okay. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to auction things. We're going to auction services only. So anyway, thank you for that. It is? Okay. Okay.
Anybody else?
Hi, just a reminder that the men's group will meet tomorrow here at the sanctuary and on Zoom. I'll send out an email invitation, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Also, we'll put the overall grid of the GA in the newsletter Tuesday evening because many of you might be interested in coming to attend the WARE lecture that takes place Saturday afternoon here. That's an annual event that's well worth attending. And there are a few other services and sessions that aren't about the business of the GA, but more about the spiritual side. So there'll be a schedule posted you can check out if you want to come and attend that with us. It's not available to the public, so you'll have to come here if you want to see it.
Could you tell us where lecture is?
Where it is? Who it is? I can if I can't right now. I don't have it off the tip of my tongue. I don't have it.
Rabbi something.
Yeah.
And Sunday, you're going to be streaming the Sunday service, right?
Yes.
Right there.
Yeah.
GA service.
Okay.
Leading our life. Molly, sorry. Anybody else in-house? Randy?
Nobody here. Back to you.
Okay. Next week, we will bring you the live broadcast of the closing service at this year's UUA General Assembly featuring Reverend Molly Hausch Gordon. Special service will start at our normal time of 10 a.m., but it might run longer than normal, so expect that because it's really 90 minutes. All right? Okay. Father's Day tribute today. Today is Father's Day, and to celebrate fatherhood, I will share several touching quotes about the people who are fathers. A dad is someone who wants to catch you when you fall. Instead, he picks you up, brushes you off, and lets you try again. Unknown said that. The nature of impending fatherhood is that you are doing something that you're unqualified to do, and then you become qualified while doing it. John Green. Any fool can have a child. That doesn't make you a father. It's the courage to raise a child that makes you a father. Barack Obama. And I only hope when I have my own family that every day I see a little more of my father in me. Keith Urban. Good fathers do three things. They provide, they nurture, and they guide. Roland Warren. The best fathers have the softest, sweetest hearts. In other words, great dads are real marshmallows. Michelle Goodrich. The older I get, the smarter my father seems to get. Tim Russert. And finally, I want to share Chris Rembarger's card that he sent me. I get a Father's Day card every year, and he wrote, "Thank you for being such a great role model and stable presence during my formative years. You continue to inspire me today." I hope you get cards like that too. Joys and concerns is a time for sharing personal celebrations, sorrows, reflections, or gratitude. This is a time of community building. Please exercise brevity. Collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. The first reading is a poem titled Everything Falls Away by Parker J. Palmer. Sooner or later, everything falls away. You, the work you've done, your successes, large and small, your failures too. Those moments when you were light alongside the times you became one with the night. The friends, the people you loved, who loved you, those who might have wished you ill. None of this is forever. All of it is soon to go, or going, or long gone. Everything falls away except the thread you've followed unknowing all along. The thread that strings together all you've been and done. The thread you didn't know you were tracking until toward the end, you see that the thread is what stays as everything else falls away. Follow that thread as far as you can, and you'll find that it does not end, but weaves into the unimaginable vastness of life. Your life never was the solo turn it seemed to be. It was always part of the great weave of nature and humanity, an immensity we come to know only as we follow our own small threads to the place where they merge with the boundless whole. Each of our threads runs its course, then joins in life together. This magnificent tapestry, this masterpiece in which we live forever. I invite us to close our eyes, get comfortable in our seats. Let's just take a few nice deep breaths together as we settle into this time of contemplation. As we breathe and move into a time of silent reflection, let the words of Wendell Berry wash over you and seep inside. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work, and that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. Light, shine in, illuminate our inward view. Help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true so we may join our songs in the new sounds that become full symphony. The second reading is a poem by Andrea Gibson, an American poet and activist. Friend, you are who taught me that a difficult life is not less worth living than a gentle one. Joy is just easier to carry than sorrow. And you could lift a city from how long you've spent holding what's been nearly impossible to hold. But this world needs those who know how to do that. Those who can find a tunnel with no light at the end of it and hold it up like a telescope. to show that the darkness contains many truths that can bring the light to its knees. Grief astronomer, adjust the lens. Look close. Tell the world what you see. Please stand in body or spirit and sing For All That Is Our Life, number 128.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Today's talk is titled The Thread, to be delivered by Michael Eselun. Michael Eselun serves as the chaplain for the Sims-Mann UCLA Center for Integrative Oncology. Two-time TEDx speaker, Michael speaks extensively to healthcare professionals, patient populations, and faith communities across the country. Long serving as adjunct faculty at the Wiesenthal Center Museum of Tolerance, he's also worked as an activist educator addressing anti-LGBTQ bias in the larger community for well over 30 years. Michael was recently inducted into the UCLA Semel Institute Eudaimonia Society in recognition of having lived a meaning-driven life. He has, he has 4 volumes of CDs available for purchase. Contact Michael through his website, michaeleselun.com. Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As an oncology chaplain, often when I'm getting acquainted with a patient for the first time, I will often ask, tell me, what's a perfect day look like for you? Before you got diagnosed, before you got sick, you don't have to work, you're feeling pretty great. What would that day be for you? My intention is to find out in a quick and easy way where they find their juice in life. What is it that gives their life meaning? What floats their boat? And it can often be a telling answer. Although sometimes I admit I do sit in a little bit of judgment when someone fumbles and hesitates. Oh, I don't know, watching TV, I guess. Carl had no trouble at all, newly diagnosed with lung cancer, identifying what his thread would be. Oh, watching my son play soccer and then taking him out for an ice cream. That answer reveals so much, doesn't it? A few years ago, I had a patient, Kelly, who gave me a Christmas gift. It was a teeny spool of thread wrapped up in a poem written by William Stafford called The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It runs among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and grow old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Such a stunning and succinct summation, isn't it? And what a tender, touching gift to receive. Carl had no trouble at all identifying his thread. Would you? The older I get and the more my life unfolds, I find myself wondering if it's really as simple as all that. Is it as clean as all that? Is that thread really unchanging? Is it really unbreakable? I thought I had a good grip on it, but then divorce happened, or cancer, or dementia, or betrayal, bankruptcy. The career that seemed to define who I was just disappeared. Do I have to find a new thread now or redefine the old one? Or am I simply to surrender to my faith in the idea that the damn thread exists in the first place? If the thread does exist, and I like to believe that it does, it can be an arduous process of drilling down to define it, a process of distillation that I find can take years, if not decades, drilling down to essence, spiritual essence, if you will. That particular challenge confronts so many on the cancer journey. If I can no longer be, do, or have what I once was, who would I even be then? Do I even exist? If I'm no longer the super mom who never misses a soccer game or a birthday party, do I even exist? Am I still the mom? And yet, while I do have a good grip on the thread, it can serve as a kind of guy wire, stabilizing me in stormy times. But I also wonder if it might be conceptualized not just as a thread to run through my life or beneath it, but what about a thread to wrap around my life, to hold it together, to give it some coherence, to find a place for all the disparate pieces of my puzzle, a puzzle that might have to be arranged and rearranged again and again because life demands it. My sister, Terry, was a pioneer in women's surfing in the 60s and 70s. She competed at the national level. She was the co-producer and co-director of the first professional women's surfing championship in Malibu in 1975. She's in her mid-70s now, and she still loves to surf, though it grieves her, as you might imagine, that she can't do all the things she once could, or certainly not as well. A few years back, she bumped into an old surfing buddy from back in the day at the beach, and they were bemoaning this particular state of affairs, and he said, "Tara, you know what I came to realize? It was always about getting wet." I love that. I thought it was about thrills or competition or winning, but maybe it was all just about getting wet. Distillation. As an old former professional dancer, I confront the very same challenge every Saturday afternoon in dance class, coming face to face with the limitations of a body that won't let me do what it once did. And yet, as I struggle with those limitations, I did come to a different conceptualization of them a number of years ago. I have never seen a dance performance that knocked me in the gut with more power and intensity than seeing Donna McKechnie in the original Broadway production of A Chorus Line in New York City in 1976. That was some kind of heady transformational experience for this 21-year-old dancer from Los Angeles on his first trip to New York. A number of years ago, Donna performed at an AIDS benefit here in Los Angeles. She was maybe in her 60s at the time. She put on quite a bit of weight. She was wearing a big flowing caftan-like dress. She offered a highly truncated version of her tour de force from A Chorus Line, The Music and the Mirror. Oh, there were echoes of the original choreography here and there. hitting a line, an arm gesture, the flick of a head. I sat in my seat and just sobbed, not out of sadness for what was lost or what was missing, but crying at the unmistakable beauty of essence, her essence, an essence that might have even been obscured, camouflaged once upon a time by her youth and agility. In some ways, that performance was more beautiful, more impactful than had she been soaring across the stage of the Schubert Theater in that red dress in front of a bank of mirrors. Distillation. I'd been told that Keith had been a brilliant architect, but when I met him, long after his glioblastoma diagnosis, all that brilliance had been wiped away. That brain tumor robbed him of the ability to compose a coherent sentence or find the appropriate word for anything. Still, he loved to see me, and so every week we would spend an hour together. There wasn't much of a conversation, but there was one sentence he used quite often: "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." As if his whole life had been distilled down to this sense of apology for not being who he once was, for not being able to communicate. I finally had to lay down the law. Keith, one rule in here: no, I'm sorry, no more. You certainly don't have to apologize to me. This hour can be spent any way you like. We can just sit in silence for an hour. We can look at each other. We can take hands. We can meditate. We can cry. We can pray. But no, I'm sorry. I want this to be one place where you do not have to feel like you're letting anybody down. Certainly not me. It's kind of crazy. I didn't get to know him in the context of his brilliance, and yet I kind of fell in love with the guy, with the simplicity of his spirit, his tender heart, his kindness, his vulnerability, his humility. Distillation. Last October, I got to take a wonderful 2-week solo trip to Turkey. And there I got a vivid reminder of something I've long known to be true. There's the thing, and there's our experience of the thing, and they're not the same thing. They're not always congruent. They don't always line up. Anyone will tell you one of the primo sights to see in all of Turkey is the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, and it is indeed staggering, stunningly beautiful. But on that particular Sunday morning, waiting through an impossibly long line to get through security, and then navigating through the hordes of visitors once I was inside, the experience of the place did not begin to match the majesty, the grandeur of the architecture. By contrast, I had a far more meaningful, potent, even tearful experience visiting this far more modest 13th century wooden mosque called Eşrefoglu in a teeny village called Beyşehir. The experience of the thing is different from the thing itself. For over 20 years, well over 20 years, I served as co-founder and co-chair of GLIDE, Gays and Lesbians Initiating Dialogue for Equality. We were a nonprofit, all-volunteer, anti-homophobia speakers bureau. In those 20 plus years, I trained dozens and dozens and dozens of volunteer speakers. Each speaker had to craft their own coming out story to share as part of the engagement. I would always encourage them to share your experience, not your story. Your story is just the facts. I came out to my mom when I was 16. Your experience, on the other hand, might sound like, for me, coming out to my mom was the big one. I stood the most to lose there if my mom rejected me, and I knew I could never take it back. I was so scared. Sharing the experience of our life's journey with some kind of vulnerability and authenticity, I believe, is the only pathway we have to make meaningful connections with life around us. Perhaps pursuing that through line of experience through our life story might lead us to our thread. But the thing is that thread might also come up for interpretation and reinterpretation again and again over the course of a lifetime. It's worth remembering that it's within our creative power to do so. Esther had been a brilliant woman, a professor, a scholar, a curator. She had the most luminous spirit, an art historian. Her spirit was so luminous that on the first day I met her, on the first day of chemotherapy, after having been recently diagnosed with ovarian cancer, I was so captivated by her passion, I was ready to quit my job then and there just to go back to school to study German Expressionism under Esther. Her passion was that infectious. After decades of scholarship, research, teaching, she was offered the dream of a lifetime come true. She was invited to curate a major retrospective of the German Expressionist painter Max Beckmann at a world-class museum. She worked her whole life for this. But these things must be planned years in advance. Could she say yes, given her diagnosis and this treatment regimen and her prognosis? She wrestled with all the questions, as you might imagine. But Michael, don't you think maybe I ought to say yes, and that commitment might be the affirmation my spirit needs to heal? What do you think? Sadly, her medical reality demanded that she decline the offer. As we wandered through the rubble of her disappointment and her grief, we looked at essence again. What was the essence of her gift? Could it ever really be lost? And could it only be expressed through this high-profile exhibit, through this kind of recognition? Or was her essence really maybe her capacity to give inspiration, to give breath to countless students, to me? One graduate student changed her whole field, her whole course of study after taking one class with Esther. What if that capacity to inspire was the thread that could wrap around her life, her version of getting wet? What if it could wrap around a life as tragic as the ending was, but a life not without meaning? A few years ago, I came upon an essay in the Atlantic in which the writer drew a distinction between obituary virtues and eulogy virtues. Obituaries often read like a resume, just the facts, boxes checked. He was born here, went to school there, married this person, worked at this company, got these awards, and then he died. The eulogy, on the other hand, often reveals a whole other multidimensional view of who a person was. He was the guy who always made me laugh. He was the kind of a friend who just showed up without being asked to help you move or to paint your den. What do you suppose it would look like if we recalibrated our lives to focus on the pursuit of eulogy virtues rather than obituary virtues? What would that be for you? Through one lens, the obituary might be the story of our life, just the facts. The eulogy reveals perhaps our response to the story. How did we translate it into a life in a way that we could intersect and interact with life around us? Perhaps pursuing those eulogy virtues might not only lead us to the thread, but might lead us to the way we can wrap that thread around our story and find that coherence for which we have been looking. You know how some people, myself included, God knows, will post on social media a picture of a beloved cat or dog, asking for prayers and good thoughts while their beloved animal friend faces some life-threatening challenge. Your heart breaks for them. And then in a few days, perhaps, there are more pictures as our friend expresses their sorrow over having had to say goodbye. You can taste their tears. You remember when it was your time to face that awful ordeal, or maybe you sit in dread knowing what's coming down the pike for you and your furry friend. And then sometimes, in very little time at all, there's another picture, or 12, of the most adorable little kitten or puppy. Meet Oscar, everybody. I'm so in love. I sometimes wonder if the specificity of that little puppy or kitten matters at all. What really matters is that there's this need, there's this capacity in my heart to give love. And this is the little guy who showed up, so we're just going to love each other forever. And that's that. I don't mean to denigrate the uniqueness of any of our furry companions, God knows. But what I'm talking about is perhaps a bigger love that's bigger than our love for our old cat or our old dog or this little kitten or this sweet little puppy. It's maybe bigger than all of us. That bigger love, that capacity might be what's at the very end of all of our threads, a place that is beyond our ideas about success and failure or what a good life looks like. The sweet, uncomplicated, uncompromising love I felt from my Grandma Ann, my mom's mom, certainly points points toward my thread if it isn't the thread itself. She's been dead for nearly 35 years. And yet her voice is the one I hear so vividly in my head, I carry it in my heart. She lived a hard life. Large Italian family, 10 kids, abusive father who used to beat her regularly. After one such beating, she had had enough and she ran away into the arms of a young man who had become my grandfather for no other reason than he was there. If she hadn't been beaten that afternoon, I wouldn't be here. Sadly, that marriage didn't last very long. But my grandmother never stopped looking for love, and she never stopped giving it away in abundance, with limitlessness to her kids, to her grandkids, to her friends. My mom and I used to reminisce sometimes about how when you'd share with grandma some loss or disappointment that you had endured, that the most she would offer would be, "Keep your chin up, dearie." It wasn't nearly as flip as it sounds. It was said with so much tenderness and compassion, and actually said with an unspoken kind of wisdom that would say, I know there's nothing I can do or say to make this any better, and I'm not going to insult you by pretending there is and say it. I only want you to know that I know you got to go on. And I love you so much, and I don't want you to hurt. I just want you to be happy. So the best I've got is keep your chin up, dearie. That, I think, taps into the bigger love. Sometimes a patient will ask me for a prayer, and I will often include this. May we keep our hearts and eyes open to recognize blessings that we don't know we're looking for. May that be so. I don't know, though. We can hope. In the meanwhile, keep your chin up, dearie. So be it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. This morning's offering will now be given and received. Please remember, we're a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you're viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, Both Sides Now, by Joni Mitchell.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds, illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's clouds, illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. But something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life at all.
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We have basked in the warmth and beauty of this flame and this community. As the chalice flame is extinguished, we shall carry its glow onward, lest kindle new sparks within these walls and beyond. Please extinguish your chalice at home now.
I invite you to perhaps close your eyes. Take a few nice deep breaths. Breathing in the love, the intention, the commitment of this community to come together and to connect. As we exhale, can we release the light and the radiance of our coming together, not only back to each other, but to the larger circles of life? As we move forward from here back into our lives, may we keep our eyes open for the thread, realizing at times it may be slippery, easy to miss, but it's strong. May it always guide us to the place of bigger love. So be it.
Thank you, Michael. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
It's all about being wet.